Hello everyone and welcome to another Plaid Stallions Toy Ventures. We're going to talk about a personal childhood favorite action figure of mine this week, and it's one I have a lot of passion about, and that is Torpedo Fist from Big Jim's P.A.C.K. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory before we get into it. Big Jim's P.A.C.K. was a 1975 attempt from Mattel to revive sales of the Big Jim toy line. Initially, Big Jim launched as kind of an adventure sportsman character, and it sold very well from about 1972 to about 1975 when it kind of began to collapse in and of itself. There was a lot of merchandise out there, and Mattel thought to rebrand the line. The concept for rebranding came from, the popularity of Mego's World's Greatest Superheroes, and the team at Mattel apparently drew some inspiration from movies like Billy Jack. So for 1975, they quickly retooled Big Jim, Dr. Steel, and they added two new characters, Warpath and the Whip, to create a crime-fighting unit. The original line also had artwork by Jack Kirby on the boxes. And in the box of the Gold Commander, they actually included a comic book done by Marvel and John Buscema that kind of explained where they were going to go with the concept. And most of the toy concepts, including Torpedo Fist, are in there, but they're in kind of a crude form, so they obviously hadn't finished the final prototypes. So when 1976 rolled around, the P.A.C.K. was in full swing, and they had created this concept called Double Trouble, which was a sort of more than meets the eye thing. An ordinary thing was actually something else. So the outfits had, he was a construction worker, but the jackhammer turns into a machine gun. It's a lot like P.A.C.K. in the 80s, where, the Big Jim's car is just a regular car, but it has laser guns popping out of the front. And we'll get into the laser vet in a later installment. So of the new characters for 1976, they revised Big Jim to give him a changing face. They created a villain for the line, the first villain Big Jim ever faced, called Zorak, who also had a face-changing ability. And they added a new team member in the form of Torpedo Fist. Another totally new concept for Big Jim, which had been kind of innocuous and let the children create their own stories. They actually created a backstory and an origin for Torpedo Fist that's on his box, and is very wonderfully illustrated and kind of goofy, so let's go through that comic strip right now. The comic opens with Big Jim, Warpath, Dr. Steel, and the Whip rendezvousing at a secret cabin in the Sierras for a meeting of the professional agents crime killers, the P.A.C.K. And it opens with Dr. Steel reassuring Big Jim that the door is solid oak and an avalanche couldn't break in. So, in panel 2, the doorway collapses with Torpedo Fist punching through it and saying, "Gangway, I'm joining this outfit," which is exactly how I got every job I ever had. The P.A.C.K. agrees to hear Torpedo Fist out, but instead of saying anything, Torpedo Fist just breaks their table. Big Jim says, "What happened to your arm, Torpedo?" And Torpedo Fist corrects him on his name and explains that he was a contract ex-Navy pilot flying in medical supplies when air pirates took down his plane. Shark Jaws got his right arm, but he must have passed out. The Mattel fisherman who rescued him said he was still shaking his other fist when he pulled him over the side. Torpedo Fist asks the P.A.C.K. if they want another demonstration, and the P.A.C.K. says, "No, you're in. That's it. We can always use a pilot. You're our air intelligence officer with the dynamite punch." It's that easy to get into the P.A.C.K. Security background checks. You punched a door, come on in. Just then the P.A.C.K. alarm sounds and they go running off somewhere to fight Zorak, I'm assuming. As silly as this comic seems, I was 5 years old when this came out and didn't question the logic in any way, shape, or form. This is one of my favorite pieces in my collection. It's a very early concept Torpedo Fist that I believe was purchased from a Mattel employee at one time. And it was in the hands of a friend of mine who sold it to me, and I'm very grateful that he did. It just basically looks a lot like the Torpedo Fist in the original Mattel promo comic. He doesn't have his arm The shirt is hand-stitched, and the pants are of a material that I'm not really sure what they are. They're very thick. But I'm not sure if he appeared in any catalogs or promo material, but he's definitely different and unique. Torpedo Fist had a unique feature in the fact that you pressed his lever and his fist shot out. So that was his double trouble action. And it was a concept that Mattel really liked. So while they sold the Torpedo Fist figure in the US and Canada, mine is in a Canadian box, and of course internationally they sold the figure as well, they kept recycling the concept for other characters. And here's just a few. Torpedo Fist got recycled as a pirate with a shooting fist that was now a hook. Brilliant. In the Big Jim spy line, which was also called James Bond, there was a henchman character called Boris, which recycled Dr. Steele's head sculpt, adding a silver dome to his head, which is right out of a Matt Helm film. They also cleverly added this feature. In Mexico, where Big Jim is called Kid Acero or Kid Steel, there is a variation of the Kid Acero figure produced by Sipsa Toys known as Braza Bala, which is arm bullet. So they used the Torpedo Fist concept on that and used Torpedo Fist's head for a henchman known as Garfio, and he's a member of Cobra. No relation. Heck, even in the Masters of the Universe line, there is a character called Spikor whose fist, which is a trident, pops out in a very Torpedo Fist-esque manner. Mattel never forgets a good toy concept, and they're very quick to recycle things that work, and I think Torpedo Fist was one of those things that really worked. Like I mentioned previously, I grew up on Big Jim, and when they switched to the P.A.C.K, I was all on board. I absolutely adored the concept. I was 5 years old. I tried to get as many as I could. I did have Torpedo Fist. I had the Big Jim Gold Commander, and I honestly remember reading that comic over and over again. Desperately wanted the Laser Vet and, the other characters. Unfortunately, it all kind of came crashing down in 1976, and Big Jim was gone by the following year. And I honestly remember going to Sears with my grandmother and asking the clerk, I'd like to buy a Big Jim. And he said, oh, that's not around anymore. And that was really crushing, actually. So these characters, especially Torpedo Fist, are kind of special to me. They're friends. I do not have the world's largest Big Jim collection. It's actually kind of tiny, but it's full of my favorite things, and it's one of my most active eBay searches. I'm always looking for new Big Jim P.A.C.K items I don't have, especially in the Canadian packaging, as I've stated before. Did you have the P.A.C.K as a kid? What member was your favorite? Hit me up in the comments here. You can also check me out on Twitter. I'm at Plaid Stallions. And, of course, we have a Facebook group, Pod Stallions, which is a offshoot of our podcast, which I hope you'll check out. And we'd love to have you to talk 70s nostalgia. I'll leave links below for everything. If you're new to this, please consider hitting liking and subscribing. We do Toy Ventures every week and hit you up with a blast of nostalgia. Oh, no, that's the alarm. I've got to go. Take care.